Okay, Badge Bunnies, Blue Falcons, Donut Eaters, and Energy Drinkers. Old retired porch sitters. We're back again. Real American Blue. A show where you can hear where old retired guys can talk without an internal investigation. So pick up your power rings and coffee, sit back, and watch.
Welcome to the show, folks. I hope Rich gets over what he's going through, some kind of stomach flu or something. I don't know. But he couldn't be here. But I got Lieutenant Dan Byram, my academy instructor and kind of mentor over the years. And I got him to come on, and we're just going to talk about stuff. So welcome aboard.
Thanks, Gurley. It's good to be
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, it's good to have you. There's been so much going on in the news. It's like every day there's something different going on. The fraud in Minneapolis, the police week we just got over, and that we went, and it's only a week, which is, it's something. But guys that put their lives on the line every day, guys that pay the ultimate sacrifice, their families live that for the rest of their lives. And yet we give them a week in DC. Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've all lost
What?
friends in the line of duty, and it's such a huge sacrifice.
It's it's really hard to fathom, losing a friend, a coworker, and it's just crazy stuff. And and there's detractors out there that say, well, that's what we hired you for. You knew the risks. Well, no, not exactly. That isn't how it goes. You don't sign it. Military guys don't sign up to be killed over in a foreign country, and cops most certainly don't sign up to die here. Have you? What's that, sir?
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that just the presence of the risks does not diminish the valor. I mean, there would be no valor without risk, and it's ridiculous when people say, "Oh yeah, you knew that was a tough job." What it's not how it works. It's disingenuous at best.
Yeah, and then all these, and one of the reasons I formed this or started this show was because I was getting a little bit pissed off that all these defunding the cop movements going across the country, the stuff that happened with Derek Chauvin, the stuff that happened in that what was that, Ferguson over there, where everybody was coming out, he's guilty, and that turned out totally opposite of what they believed in all the internet rumors. So
yeah, it's shameful the
it
way
is
things are misrepresented, and if someone does bad, if someone makes a mistake, no one is more concerned than the police officers and fellow police officers and wants to see things made right. But all the law enforcement needs is just a fair shake, and they have not received a fair shake in many years. And
it's absolutely insane, because both of us working in that career field, we've seen it. It's almost like you don't get the same rights as citizens do, as bad guys do. You don't get those same rights. It's almost like you're not presumed innocent. The thing, innocent until proven guilty. You're not in that boat. They automatically assume you're guilty because of what you do. You're a cop, all cops are bad, blah, blah, blah. And you get hung out to dry. And in some cases, by your own department, which is pretty crazy.
We're seeing that more and more, Curly, of these political chiefs throwing officers under the bus across the country. I mean, we have some great sheriffs and great chiefs, and
Yeah.
not to disparage them, but I'm saying there are cases of these political chiefs just going the way the wind blows. Every chief and every commander or captain or deputy chief should be ready to resign on principles if they
Yeah.
feel strongly enough about it. And because typically when you achieve that rank, you can retire anyhow, but the resignation on principles seems to be a law.
Yeah. I think you froze up again, LT. But
Oops.
anyway,
I
yeah,
lost
he's
my connection.
absolutely right. The LT's right. Oh, you froze up a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't remember his name, but that chief in Minneapolis who was standing right beside the mayor when they were talking about not allowing ICE in, not working with ICE, those kinds of things. Law enforcement needs to work together to get the crime on the streets resolved. And if that's working with ICE and criminal illegal aliens or just plain criminals, because everybody makes that assumption that illegal aliens come across the border. They're generally from South America and they're just hardworking people. Well, that's not the case. Not all of them are like that. You get your criminal element, you get the cartel people, the what's that gang, MA, and you get
Trend Agua.
Tren de Agua. You get these gangs. Maybe they should go live in those countries, these detractors go live in those countries and see what these gangs are about that are coming into our country. And yeah, I mean, their laws down there are different and they don't care. And then they get sent up here or sneak up here and commit crimes. And then throw in the other elements of it. There's not just south of the border stuff. There's stuff from Russia, China, and in the academy class, who was it? Athey taught us about organized criminal elements, and he was talking about, the stuff like the gangs from South America. But he went into the Italian mob, the Russian mob. And part of that is those guys spent time in a really bad prison in Russia. So going to prison here isn't anything. It's like a cakewalk for them.
Yeah. Our prisons are pretty soft compared to what a lot of those folks are used to.
Yeah.
You probably have your ear to the ground with some of the intelligence guys still, I'm sure, and you hear the same things that the cartels, up until they closed the border, were sending guys like what are the plastic dishes the ladies used to sell. They give them a territory and do multi-level marketing, literally sending squads of guys to various cities across the country to set up the distribution networks. And they have, at least back then, they had more guys able to replace the ones that were arrested or killed on the street.
Yeah.
And it was literally an invasion and a criminal narco-terror invasion. But it's just not, we can't just say, oh, the Sinaloa cartel or one of the other cartels. It's like you said, an international problem with the Russians, with the Chinese, with every group. I'm sure there's Iranian sleeper cells around.
Oh, yeah.
The Iranian IRCG, and all these people are running around unchecked because there were too many of them. It's like getting swarmed.
Yeah.
And we were literally swarmed for 4 years or maybe longer, with an open border that was ridiculous. It should have never happened. But you've seen this and experienced it, and your friends have, out there in the street, the guys that have to deal with it now. And it's getting reined in, but it's not
Yeah.
just Mexico and Central America and South America. It's worldwide, and that's
Yeah.
a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've worked a couple fraud cases over the career, and some of them came out of Canada that were Russian organized crime working out of Canada. And you know, that's where law enforcement needs to work together. ICE, DEA, FBI, all the alphabet law enforcement agencies get to work together because it's everybody's problem. It's not just, the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office or Maricopa County Sheriff's Office problem. It's everybody's problem from all levels, and they don't get it. So,
Yeah.
and
It's been
even,
going on. Yeah.
yeah,
It has to. It has to be an all of government approach with every agency at every level working together to stop this. I mean, and it's been going on for years. I can remember back in the '70s being a detective, and we had these crazy Croatian guys owned hotels up and down the street, and they brought something over from, I don't even know which groups it was anymore because it's been 50 years ago, but 40 years ago, but they were these factions from these different Eastern European countries were car bombing. They putting car bombs out in front of each other's hotels, and
yeah,
they were doing armed robberies against each other. It was just getting out of control. And back then we had customs and immigration guys. I remember calling up a buddy because that's how it used to work. You just call someone, and I called an immigration the investigator, and he came out, and we just rounded a bunch of them up, and we had ended up sending a huge file to Interpol over a bunch of crimes we had them confess to over in Europe, and they just brought it over here.
yeah,
But it's not everyone, and that's where I think the confusion begins, because they'll say, "Oh, well, you're just picking on this group or that group," and it's like, when we talk about a group, it's not everyone. Every culture, every society, every demographic has mostly good and some bad. Usually about 10% are sketchy.
yeah.
Any group you define. And
Oh, yeah.
we just don't need to tolerate that.
Uh-uh. No, I mean, and besides stuff that people think about, murders, drugs, theft, there's sex crimes that go into that, prostitution, abductions, child sex crimes, all kinds of things. And
Yeah.
it's something that the general public doesn't really see, because all they see is a cop being mean to somebody.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it, you know what I mean? And
Well, they see that finite piece of the story, a very discrete piece of the story. They don't see the whole story. They don't see everyone on the block who had, their battery stolen out of their truck by this guy, or
yeah,
the petty thefts or burglaries or fraud or using benefits that they're not entitled to, and bringing the human trafficking element into it and covering up for
Right.
other crimes, and it's just so much. But you don't see in a story that affects small, discrete thing of the arrest, and arrests are rarely pretty.
Yeah.
There's nothing pretty about arresting someone, especially if they don't want to be arrested. And it's
Yeah. That part of it is,
awkward and messy and sad.
the arrest process. Cops got to play by the rules. There's rules for
Yeah.
us. you can't do this. You can't, maybe back in the 50s, 40s, maybe even into the 60s, they'd get roughed up a little bit. But now it's like they're treated with kid gloves. You put them in. It's like that. The guy most recently that ran into that press dinner in DC, armed with a shotgun and a handgun. He rushed in through security. I mean, the judge said, "Oh, he apologized to the guy for how he was treated." Come on, you know, it's hard to even fathom, how far we've gone to that side to treat these guys that way, and then throw in no bail laws, not working with ICE and doing the ICE detainers, and they cut them back on the street. I know of one in Phoenix when Penzone was sheriff. Penzone cut the guy loose. Phoenix arrested him. He had an ICE detainer, and Penzone cut him loose. And DEA had to go back to where the guy was staying and try to find him and arrest him again, because if I remember correctly, it was for sex crimes with a minor type of thing or something. And I don't get it. There's people here that like to stick up for these guys, and it's funny because they're not a victim, the people protesting it, but as soon as they are a victim, they kind of flip and say, "Oh, I'm all for deporting now. He just killed my daughter," or it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. They don't let cops be cops. They don't work with ICE. They talk smack, racist, all these different things, and they don't know the big picture. And it's frustrating. It really is. And then now sitting here retired, you're just going, "Oh my God." Holding your hand to your head going, do they even teach people this stuff in school anymore about it?
That's a good question. I think we need a lot more thinking, skepticism, natural skepticism presented to the students, so people kind of learn not to take everything at face value, because it's very easy to get into a tribal type of
It is.
approach to everything that happens. And I mean, the things that we see these people do, jump to conclusions immediately, about every aspect of it, not looking at the whole picture, never looking at context, and the context is king in any conversation about an event that happens, something that's said, and they'll take a 1 to 5 word soundbite and use that over and over and over, even though the context may mean something completely different. And you're right about some of the releases, and then that endangers the public again when they release a guy, because if you still have to go get them, and they're obligated to go get them, that means anytime there's an arrest, it could turn into the Wild West, and innocent people could be at risk, either through pursuits or shootings or fights or disturbances. And nobody considers, the totality of everything that happens in one of these situations. They just want that instant feel good. "Oh, I let this guy go. Oh, I'm a nice person. Oh, I have empathy for everyone." And it's just crazy.
That gal in, what was it, North or South Carolina, that was riding on a train and got stabbed by that guy, that
It's horrible.
I mean, she was an immigrant here to this country.
Ukrainian girl that was over here. Legit.
And a guy was let out who shouldn't have been on the streets. And that's part of the system being broken too, because you mentioned going all the way back into the 70s. I remember in the 60s and 70s growing up here, we would come downtown Phoenix, 24th Street in Van Buren, the mental hospital for the state, and which as a detective I've had to go talk to people that were there, but it's not really that kind of a thing anymore. They don't really use the mental health system the way they should, like they did, because that's a lot of the problems. That guy that stabbed that Ukrainian gal, and that was another thing altogether too, because you got people sitting there watching it and not helping. You know,
Oh, I think I'm glad you mentioned that. That's what set me off too. When I'm seeing some poor girl under attack and people just standing there with a cell phone camera recording it, it's like, isn't anyone going to tackle this guy or disarm him or do something?
or administer first aid to. Well,
Help her.
yeah, and on that same topic, who was that Marine in the subway that got charged for murder because he stood up?
Yeah.
Penny or
Daniel
something. Daniel Penny. He got tried for murder and acquitted eventually. But that's how backwards the system is right now. And it's crazy. He did that in the subway in New York, where we've seen what goes on in the subway there. People getting pushed on the tracks, people getting beat up, cell phones taken, all kinds of stuff. And nobody seems to give a shit. And it'd be real hard for me, even as an old guy, to see something like that and not do something. You know what I mean?
How could you not do something? That's
Yeah.
what goes through my mind. The last thing I would be thinking about is recording it on my phone for clicks, which is just
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
saw that, what a disgrace those people were.
Wow. And it's like it's none of their business. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something about that. It's none of your business until it happens to your family, a loved one. And before it gets to that point, it is your business. You need to get involved. You need to stop this shit because it's crazy. It's absolute lunacy to see this go on.
You have to take ownership of your town, and if that means your public transportation or whatever, you just have to take ownership. If you don't
Yeah.
want to live in a terrible town, you have to take ownership and defend your town
Yeah.
and step up when there's a problem, rather than just waiting till after something happens and walking around with a pre-made cardboard sign screaming in the street. That doesn't solve much.
No.
But
And it really doesn't. And then look in Minneapolis, what happened. All they did was go out there and protest, try to block. You end up getting 2 protesters killed
I think that was
because
the goal, though.
what's that?
I think that was their goal, to get someone killed. To force,
Sacrificed.
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how that works because I absolutely don't know what's wrong with those people. I really don't. And I think it's an ongoing thing where they the people pushing the buttons at the top and getting all their minions doing this shit are putting their people at risk, and they don't seem to care.
No, they're cannon fodder.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of a very organized group, a subversive group that
Yeah.
takes good-hearted people and turns them into angry mobs.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better if you can just find someone over a cup of coffee to vent it out with, rather than be a lunatic in the street. When I had
Oh,
my offices in downtown San Diego, I'd look down. It was in the NBC building, and I could see all along Broadway from the pier all the way out to the college on
right.
Broadway, and they'd have these protesters, come out and just shut down traffic, and they never convinced anyone, that their side was good or righteous. All they showed anyone is, we're going to prevent you from getting home on time or
getting to what, yeah.
on time, and it's really, really, it was just ridiculous. I'd see it maybe once a week or something, some
Yeah.
protest, and they'd have the motor officers having to escort them and so forth. I
Yeah.
never knew what the protest was about most of the time. It was just like an unruly group barking at the moon.
Yeah, and it's like over the career you've run into people on traffic stops or different things.
Yeah.
I know my rights. You can't do this. The sovereign citizens were the worst, but I'm a traveler. You can't.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, let me show you. Hop out of the car. No, okay. And then, yeah, they have this false sense of reality. They think that their reality is it. And it's crazy. It's like up here and where I live now. You learn a lot in a small town, especially when you're between two small towns. You learn of the criminal element, who's been tolerating the criminal element, and you learn who the druggies are, you learn who the thieves are. And being retired, you can't really do anything, but you still have, you have the freedom, should you become a victim, to resolve the issue more so than if you're in law enforcement. So it's kind of crazy up here. And I think you froze up again a little bit. So anyway, yeah, so crime even in the small towns is there because they don't think law enforcement can touch them. They run around doing stuff. In Seligman, they have a little mom and pop grocery store. It got broken into. And it was along the lines of what we've seen down in Phoenix. Through the ceiling, they cut a hole, dropped down, broke into the safe, stole a lot of cash, and gone. No suspect information. Nobody's talking. And there's an element in town that happens to know who it is, who to go talk to, and they're not going to say anything because they're into their dirty shit too. So it's even worse in a small town because there's not as many cops up here that there is down in Phoenix or Mesa or Tempe. And yeah, so yeah, it's how it's working nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
the other thing we just went through was Police Week, a week that started, when was that? Monday. And they started with ceremonies, different things. And I saw something you had posted on Facebook about a national day or something that was proposed by the Republicans. Can you elaborate?
If I remember what it was,
Somehow, and
I think it was, there was a number of people who voted against a resolution to honor the police week. A lot of congressmen of one particular party reviewed, and it's crazy. There shouldn't be that kind of division over things like that. That's approving a resolution in support and honoring the police memorials of Police Week and that kind of thing should be very bipartisan. They should all be supporting that. Just like it's not that much different than naming a post office. It's just something that they generally do. And when they get that divided politically, that they can't, whoever their constituency is, I don't think it's their constituency. I think it's who's ever paying for their campaigns. But if they can't vote to honor fallen police officers, what do they stand for? I mean,
Yeah.
law enforcement is the last line of defense for American cities.
Yeah.
It's a million person standing army and Air Force in communication with each other, networked, similarly trained, and ready to defend every city, county, state in this country. And if something bad happens, they're the ones, and the first responder, medics, and
Yeah.
fire and all those guys. But how hard that is, it's an honorable job, and people should at least respect the fallen, if nothing else.
Yeah.
That should be something that's a truce. But when they're that politically divided, there's no hope. And then you look, I saw, I follow some of the things going on in X, and I heard that Raul Castro was possibly getting indicted for the shoot down of humanitarian aid aircraft, which happened some years ago. And they were defending him. They were defending Castro. They've been defending the Ayatollah. It's like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because they're upset politically, and there's some things that are just of a national interest that shouldn't be. I mean, even if you disagree with it, you should be able to discuss it and not get automatically, oh, this is the side, this is the line, and you're on this side and we're on this side. It shouldn't be that way, especially
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so divisive right now. I mean, it's kind of funny, and it's mostly due to the TDS stuff. And
Yeah.
I joked about it before on Facebook and social media. I said, if a tree fell in the forest, would Donald Trump get the blame?
Yeah.
And it's like that because it's like a whole bunch of whiny, snivelly little kids that don't get their way, so they're throwing these temper tantrums, and it ends up costing the citizens, at the border, law enforcement. I don't have the number right in front of me or anything, but there was a lot of cops that died in the line of duty this year, a lot
Yeah.
in 2025. And, nobody says anything about it. Nobody on that particular group, they don't talk about it,
And that's just a small number. When you take, not to diminish the number, I'm just saying that when you take the people who were critically injured and not able to return to work in the line
Right.
of duty, when you take the retirees and even the in-service officers that are overwhelmed with whatever the stress of the job is, and they take their own life, that's another number that's not part of that.
Right.
And the people who have issues that just leave, and because it's just too stressful to do this kind of work anymore, it's another
Right.
number. And people carry that with them. I mean, there's things I know that you carry,
Yeah.
and I carry from things we've seen and had to do, and that's another number. And so it's much larger. The sacrifice, the great sacrifices are fallen officers, but there's other sacrifice factors as well that are often overlooked. And
Yeah.
it's a job that has to be done.
Yeah.
And they don't consider, they're saying, oh, these cops, where do you think they got the cops? They're people. They
Yeah.
come out of the population of everybody.
Yeah. The community. They come out of the community.
It's not
They,
they're people who you probably grew up with or went to school with, or your kids play together or something. So it's not like these are strange individuals, like Superman from a strange planet, coming in. These are people who are part of your community. They're part of the human race, and that's overlooked. And that's part of the whole context that
Yeah.
that I had mentioned that needs to be addressed in all of these situations. So, yeah, they should those representatives should hang their heads in shame for not supporting the resolution on
Yeah.
these fallen officers.
Yeah. It's something because some of those officers had kids, small
Yeah,
babies, and they're
yeah,
gone. What's going to happen to that kid? Is he going to grow up, go to college, do all that kind of stuff? And, all the money in the world isn't going to bring back the dad or the
yeah.
mom.
Mom, a lot of female officers were lost.
Yeah.
Uh, it's the, uh, death has no discernment over anything. It's a
Yeah.
great equalizer, and it will take any of us at some point. But
Yeah.
these officers, they're of all religions, all races,
Oh,
men and
yeah.
women. It's it's the people of the community, and
Yeah.
someone has to do this job because if it's not done, a social worker is not going to be able to do it.
No.
A police officer has to do it. We have laws to
Yep.
keep civilization. It's protecting civilization. Otherwise, we go to a warlord model
Yeah.
or a medieval model of ultra rich and ultra poor.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
You
So,
know, I used to patrol Guadalupe. You
yeah.
know that area.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd hear coworkers, other deputies that hated going to Guadalupe, just absolutely hated it. And I go, we have an obligation here because we have to protect the citizens. And he goes, well, nobody there likes us, this and this and this and this. And I go, well, hold on a second. There may be one or two people there that are going to college, that are doing a good job, obeying the law, getting car insurance, getting a driver's license, doing everything by the book. Those are the people we gotta watch out for. We gotta
Yeah.
protect those people. And that's our job, protecting people. And like I said a little bit ago, when you kind of froze, it's kind of funny when you freeze, when you get that digital little freeze. You remember the radios? You talk on the new digitals, and they go,
Yeah.
and you couldn't understand shit. Well, it was kind of like that, and you were sitting there like,
I should turn my
and
camera off.
and and I'd keep on talking, but you know, it's just something else. Until they become a victim, until these people become a victim, they're not going to really know the system. And in fact, that's what I was going to say. A movie actor, and I could be butchering his name, Alan Richmond or Richson, the
Rickman?
big the big buff guy that plays Reacher. The
Oh,
movie,
him. Yeah, I know who he is.
yeah. Well, he gave a statement that maybe all the cops need to be fired, maybe all the cops need to be, he's like, for as big as he is, he's a liberal or leans that way, and he has a platform to say anti-cop stuff on, even though in his movies he plays a tough guy who's kind of a cop, and yeah, so. But he had gotten in trouble in his neighborhood, remember? He got he had a Karen in his neighborhood. This guy, they got mad at him for riding the motorcycle, and they got in a skirmish, and Reacher punched him in the face or something. And here this guy, Reacher, talk shit about cops all the time. Well, guess what? It was a cop that had to come there, hear both sides of the story, and then make a decision. And guess what? He didn't get charged. The Karen did.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy how that works, because he's saying that cops are this, cops are that, but yet it was a cop making the decision that there's not enough evidence to charge him, or the other guy was like in a car accident. The other guy was vehicle number one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, it's all fun and games until you get involved with law enforcement. And then you're like, oh, I hope they're fair.
There we froze up. I remember that incident, and people say stupid stuff sometimes. I think that actor is probably, I don't know if you know many Hollywood actors, but some of them are very smart people,
Yeah.
and some of them are a little goofy, and
Yeah.
I don't read a lot into that, and I saw that, and I was thinking, okay, this guy for the entire weekend was running a parade with his kids on motorcycles up and down a residential street. So this guy's at home on the weekend listening to these motorcycles, and his kids just go up and down and up and down and up and down. Probably cracked him eventually, and he probably should have called and had a police officer come out and just tell the actor to knock it off, not in a public street, or don't, if you're going to do it for a little bit. Who knows what happened? I don't know what happened.
There could have been
into it.
There could have been a resolution that didn't have to elevate.
Yeah, he's not Jack Reacher. And,
I know.
I don't know who he is, and I understand he's bipolar. He said he was bipolar. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's an excuse for anything either. It's people.
Oh, and
have
that
ways of treating that.
Speaking of actors, I guess there's 2 detectives in Florida that launched a lawsuit, and it's against Matt Damon, and because Matt Damon and another actor did this movie portraying these deputies as crooked people. As crooked cops, and I can't remember. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That was the craziest thing I saw. But you know what? When shit like that happens to a cop, when you're falsely accused of something, they should let cops sue people.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad they're addressing it. That's bad. I don't know much about Matt Damon either.
Yeah, he's kind of.
I guess I can say I'm not a fan of his.
Oh, here it is. I found it. You gotta love AI. I mean, AI is just the bomb. May 2026. 2 Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office deputies, Sergeant Jason Smith and Detective Jonathan Santana, filed a defamation lawsuit in a Florida federal court against Artist Equity and co-defendants Falco Pictures LLC. The core of the dispute, the RIP, released in January 2026, opens with the disclaimer stating it was inspired by true events. The narrative draws heavily from a real-life June 2016 narcotics raid in Miami Lakes, where a record-breaking haul of over $21 million in cartel cash was recovered from buckets hidden behind drywall. The plaintiffs claim Detective Santana, the lead detective on the real 2016 case, and Sergeant Smith, who supervised the team, argue that the film uses distinct, highly specific factual details from the actual investigation because of this, they claim colleagues, family, and the public easily identified them as a real life counterparts to the characters played by Matt Damon and J.D. Byrne, or Matt Damon, or no, hang on, characters played by Damon and Ben Affleck. It looks like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Batman.
and it portrays the real guys as dirty cops, and these guys are suing. It's just like, and you probably fielded quite a lot of complaints like that, where a deputy or a Mesa PD guy on patrol gets a complaint. This guy made advances on me, and it's a DUI arrest. And they go in and they file a complaint that he made sexual advances. But then nowadays there's body camera. So you as a supervisor reviewing the body camera, you go, oh, none of that happened. And you have to take, and at the sheriff's office, which I want to get into on here, because of a complaint, they have to take the complaint as an IA with the court monitors. I don't know how Mesa works, but they
We didn't
take
have that.
yeah, and you take the sheriff's office would take the complaint and then investigate it. So a deputy, over a span of 10 years with the monitors there, may accrue 18 to 25 IAs, which all of them can be, what's that fancy word they use for it, unsubstantiated?
Yeah.
So they can all be unsubstantiated, but there's still 18 of them. And when you go to court, guess what happens?
Yeah.
How many a defense attorney says, how many IAs have you had? Well, you answer honestly, I've had 18. And they go, no further questions, shut it down. Not that they're all unsustained or unsubstantiated, that you had 18. So that shows that, and I'm seeing the game, how they're playing it. And it's just atrocious, especially with monitors.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
these two guys, they're suing. And I think agencies need to allow law enforcement officers falsely accused of something to be able to file a lawsuit, because you're entitled to the same rights as citizens. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I think the officers are always going to be at a disadvantage. They have the media against them. They have rules about how what you say is often evidence, and there's rules of evidence and procedure against you in a criminal case, that things you can't say
Yeah.
and can't say publicly, and they're, as long as the press, as long as the public don't ever look at the entire context of situations, they just look at a headline or
Yeah.
a post on social media, and they jump to a conclusion.
Yeah.
That's always going to be that way. But it'd be nice if there were, like the FOP, I think they do have attorneys that can do
Right.
things, because it's expensive going to court.
It is.
And it takes a lot out of you if you have to go to court over a civil action or whatever it is. And a lot of officers are just at an incredible disadvantage in the whole system.
Right.
So I don't know that that's ever going to change very much, but I'm glad that they're going after. I worked and knew a lot of guys in Dade County Public Safety and in the sheriff's office down there, police officers, and some of the small towns, through that area. Great guys. Worked on different projects with them, and the thought, I would think that people with the fame of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon would have more sense, because I don't know who funded that. When you were talking about the LLCs, those are
Yeah.
funding mechanisms for these films and for the producers and people to put money
Right.
together. They'll just dissolve the LLC probably, and that's why they have those, to prevent liability from lawsuits. But you would think
Yeah.
that they're always saying, oh, that Matt Damon, he's supposed to be so smart. He wrote a script one time when he was very young or whatever, and Ben Affleck was, and I like a lot of stuff Ben Affleck's been in, but why would you feel the need to say these are based on true events? But if and then portray, so everybody's going, oh, holy smokes, that's so and so, when they see the thing. You would think their attorneys would have said something early on about,
Yeah.
if these officers aren't corrupt, you better not go out and portray them as bad people.
Well,
But we see it all the time in films where they take a one-sided approach and tell
yeah.
a story, and it has a narrative to it.
Yeah.
And some of it's for entertainment value. But,
Yeah. Well, it sells tickets. That's what
Yeah.
they're looking at. Ooh, movie about crooked cops. I'm going to buy
Yeah.
a ticket.
Yeah, I heard about that movie after I thought about it. I never saw it.
Yeah, I
But,
never saw it. And yeah, I kind of stopped watching movies when particular actors took the stands that they did.
Yeah,
Like at the Academy Awards, wearing that stupid pin for ICE and all that, and all kinds of stuff. And
somebody tells them to do that. They are still acting. When you see them publicly, they're still acting, and someone's
Yeah.
telling them to do that. Whoever's handing them the script.
Here, put this on. Put this on. What? Put this
Yeah.
on. Here's a sign that says "Kick me." Put it on your back. You know. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, wow. It's just crazy. And then you got, I've had a couple good actors and an actress on this show. Kevin Major Howard, who played Rafterman in Full Metal Jacket. Great guy. And I even told him in the show, I said, wow, you're like really, really cool for a Hollywood guy.
most people are.
Yeah. And then I had Lisa Regina on, who has been in The Sopranos, who was actually a victim of domestic violence in New York City in broad daylight by another cast member, a major cast member of The Sopranos, who knocked her unconscious and dumped her out on the street in New York.
Wow.
She actually won a lawsuit against him. And yeah, it was crazy. I read up on it and I'm going, you got to be kidding me. And she does an organization, A Right to Heal, where they talk about, or they bring people in that are victims of domestic violence and they write out their story. And yeah, she's a really good person. Kevin Major Howard, who I got a signed picture from him when I went on his podcast. An awesome guy. Does stuff in the community, does stuff for cops. And there are a bunch out there like that, Hollywood guys, but they're flying low because the majority over there, they can't get work. I mean, who is it? James Woods?
Yeah.
He's very vocal. And he's been in a lot of movies, but not so many recently. And
Robert Davi.
Yeah.
He kind of got, well, he's still working, but a great actor, and he came out politically. I don't think it's most of these people in Hollywood. I think there's a few, that have different opinions, but someone's writing checks in that town, and
Yeah.
that's who's behind.
Yeah. Yeah, you locked up a little bit, but yeah, Robert Davi, he played in The Goonies of all movies. He played one of the bad guys in The Goonies. So yeah, it's funny. You can't speak your mind in Hollywood unless you want to have retributions done against you.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you froze up. So everything it was another one of those. Oh, and here we
did I
go
get
again a little
frozen
bit.
again? I think maybe a cloud
Yeah, you
went
did.
over
It
my
was like
Starlink.
this. It was like this.
I got my mouth open too much.
Yeah, but Robert Davi, I've
Yeah, good guy.
actually emailed him to come on the show because he was in the Goonies. He played one of the bad guys in the Goonies, and what a good guy. I mean, he's super cool.
I
And
think he was the best Bond villain they ever had in that James Bond movie where he was the bad guy.
yeah,
Yeah, and he moved to Florida, I understand. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I ought to it's been a while since I reached out. Maybe I should. And then there's some comedians out that are conservative. What's that guy that moved here to Arizona from California? The Scots. He does he does a bourbon that he's always promoting, Liberal Tears or something.
does it? I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess I don't see too much. I don't watch the news as much as I should. I look at my X feed and hit what are the
Yeah, he's
top
on X
stories.
actually. What is his name? Rob something. Rob Shine.
Rob Lowe.
No, Shine Snyder or something. He's a comedian guy. He was in a whole bunch of really funny movies.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
And he lives here.
Funny
He
guy.
does stand up. He does stand up routines, and he talks about liberals and you know, it's funny when you get vocal, you seem to, especially in Hollywood, you seem to like lose your position there. You know?
It's a pecking order. Yeah.
Yeah. But back in the day, you had actors like John Wayne, Clint Eastwood. They would speak their mind, and they were
Kurt
still
Russell.
doing. Kurt Russell, he's one of the most recent ones that came out and started talking conservative stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not so buttoned down into the conservative liberal thing. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when, Kennedy Democrats and what the party used to be like. And I don't think it's really Democrats or Republicans. I think it's crazy people.
Yeah,
Perhaps
it is.
since our school systems have been going away from the ABCs of basic education, and people are
They've been
graduating, can't read and write.
they've been hijacked.
It's people who are stupid, and like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the famous German cleric, said before the Nazis executed him. He was a spy during World War II, and he said that stupid people are more dangerous than evil because they are so committed to following a group, to being part of a group, that they lose their individuality, their agency. And I always think back to him when I hear people getting so committed to one point of view without just looking at a situation realistically and saying, well, could this be looked at a different way? And, what is a good approach to problem solving, rather than just saying it's us versus them. And we see so much of that. And I wish we didn't.
Yeah. Well, I just looked up real quick, and you brought up the topic of schools, which it's in Sal Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, the book.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and all those guys like their tout. But it talks about it taking ownership of schools and oh yeah, it's something, and that's the foundation for this country. It started with no longer requiring kids to pray in school or to say the Pledge of Allegiance, any of that stuff. And then it wormed its way into uh, getting rid of shop classes, uh, getting rid of home economics, because that's all gender based. And yeah, so it's
Well,
kind of crazy how that works. And it's a slow progression to take control of the public school system, raising our kids, and changing generations for the future. And this started in the 70s, basically the takeover of that, because in the 60s, I said a Pledge of Allegiance in school. We had shop class, we had sports, football, all the sports things, and it was boys and girls. And that was the other thing I saw today was they're still doing the transgendered men in women's sports in high schools over in California. And they just talked about it on Fox News, where a guy that won the last couple years is now is got a shot for winning the state title in women's whatever it was. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's still going on. And I don't know. We're kind of in an upside down world.
it's
We re-
yeah. You know, Curly, when I've always collected books, and when I was a little kid, my mom we used to go to estate sales and farm auctions a lot, and my mom and dad would always give me a dollar to go, and I'd always buy some old books, and so I always read these old turn of the century from 1890 to some older, but 1890 to 1920 textbooks.
right,
They taught applied skills to children from the get-go. Everything, they talk about the notorious story problems, but all those so-called story problems that they used to give these kids were built on applied skills for good citizenship, employment, uh,
hmm
self-direction as a student to be an entrepreneur.
right,
Many of them were agriculturally based because of the times, but still, that taught people how to go out and run a business
right.
from the first grade on.
Yeah,
And I was talking to my dad about where he went, to this Sugar Maple School, and they had one room brick schoolhouse, and they literally taught an hour of a group and then teach the next group. But then the older kids would take what they had learned and teach the younger kids.
right.
So you were being taught one, you do one, and then you teach one, like
Yeah,
they used to say, and it worked. And that little schoolhouse turned out some very brilliant and successful people.
yeah,
And I'm thinking about doing a book on all this someday about how education evolved in perhaps a negative way when they sought out things other than fundamentals,
right.
rote memorization, repetition, and kids could come out of school being able to read, speak, articulate an idea, be skeptical of an idea, and conduct business. And we lost that. And I think that's a lot of why people were following passion and emotion more than pragmatism and logic.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's solvable, but it should
yeah.
be.
And
That's why
I
private
think,
schools are booming.
yeah, they are charter schools, private schools, Catholic school. I went to Catholic school when I was a kid. And yeah, here, look, I went to Catholic school.
Yeah,
It right there across from the old Mesa PD, Queen of Peace.
Queen of Peace.
Yep. And yeah, you learn a lot. And as you progress in school and get into junior high and high school, they used to have shop class and all this stuff. Now they eliminated it and they claim it's for the budget, but yet they get millions of dollars and they don't. They eliminate these classes that could actually give kids jobs when they graduate. And what's that guy's name? Mike Lowe, the Dirty Jobs
Mike Rowe?
guy. Mike Rowe. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did Dirty Jobs guy. He
Interesting
talks
guy.
about. Oh yeah, he talks about it. Think about it. When we were talking about this the other day in town, when they have shop classes and when they do this stuff, you go to hire a plumber now. You could be a doctor making a shit pile of money, and you go to hire a plumber, and that plumber's going to be like $125 an hour to come out and deal with your literal shit problem, and
Yeah.
and he's getting paid well. And if you ever go to Lake Havasu and you see those giant friggin' jet boats and everything scooting across the water, those guys are working class guys. They're
Yeah.
guys that are plumbers, framers, construction business owners, machine shop guys, welders. Those guys are getting good money. And the skilled trades like that now, they're in high demand. And to be able to give the kids that opportunity to make the choice. Do you want to go into computers or do you want to be a plumber?
Yeah.
And, so.
Yeah, I ran a trade school in Long Beach, California for a while, and we had plumbers, electrician, telecom,
Right.
those general trades, and it was right there at Third and Pine downtown. And most of our students came from Compton, Watts. We had one morning class that only had one guy. It wasn't on probation or parole.
Yeah.
But these people went through that intensive program, and it was pretty intensive, with a lot of restrictions, and they went out and were mostly successful, I would say. Most of them found work. Many of them started businesses after they got some training and went on. I stayed in touch with a lot of those guys, and they were tough customers, but nobody ever held them to discipline. I mean, they would not survive in the typical university or community college system. They needed a structured, disciplined program, and we provided that. And
Yeah.
it was very rewarding to see those guys turn their lives around.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. I had a guy out in East Mesa who I arrested multiple times. Did a search warrant at his property for chop shop, Harley Davidsons, that kind of thing. And he tells the story now. He actually came on my show twice. He's like some kind of assistant director for a program in Phoenix called New Freedom, where they get guys out of prison. They come out of prison. They don't have any direction. It's like basically, here you go. State let them go. They don't give them anything. Well, these guys bring them into this hotel, and it's an old Hilton hotel off of like up by Metro Center, or where Metro Center was, off the 17. And they come in, and it's that structured environment where I called it a boot camp for prisoners, where they come in, mandatory drug tests. They get up in the morning, they do exercise, they go to class, they go to like a reentry program, and then they have classes in trades, job training, where they teach them how to be painters or framers or welders and all this stuff. And then they have jobs for them when they get out or when they get done with the program. And their success rate is in the 90s for guys not going back on drugs and committing crimes again. So there we go. You froze up again.
I bounced out again. Sorry, Curly. I think my Starlink isn't.
I think you need to do a Cat 6 cable. You need to run a Cat 6 cable straight from your router to your computer.
I will do that.
and that'll give you all the speed. That's what I do here. I'm off grid. I'm totally off grid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was talking about New Freedom, that organization.
Yeah.
And they have job training and they got a structured environment that these guys are living in. And it's like I was saying, a boot camp for guys that have been incarcerated. And I can actually call him a friend now, even though at the time he was a guy I just kept going after. But Tracy, what a guy. Amazing. You did it again, LT.
Sorry, bud. I have no idea. I can see the device out there
Yeah.
window. I don't know why we don't.
Yeah, it's you got to do a Cat 6 cable straight from the router to your computer. That's what I did here. Anyway, I think we're getting close to the end. Oh yeah. Are you there? LT. Let's see if we can play with it a little bit. There you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at the end of the show anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, run a Cat 6 from your router to your computer, you'll be fine. I've learned these things from trial and error.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for coming on, and we had a pretty decent discussion, and yeah, we just gotta change the direction. We gotta do it, and it takes us older guys to do it.
Yeah.
It really does.
Let's
You
hope we
know?
can get there.
Oh yeah. Hey folks, I don't know what I got for next week's show, but June 7th we have on Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman from he's a retired Army Ranger, been on all the talk shows and and all the news channels. He's a pro law enforcement guy, motivational speaker. And I bet he has some choice words to say about manning up people in the country again. Anyway, I know you didn't hear it. We have Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman coming on the show.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask him about it. What can we do to man up the guys in the country now? So it'll be simple. Anyway, guys, that's it. Tune into the show. Have fun.